my obsession and passion for poetry recitation from my childhood. I used to represent my class in elocution contest, and that was the time. That was the time I realized that each and every word is actually, thought about, weighed, and then put into that sentence. It has its own rhythm. It has its own importance in that, not only in that sentence, but also in the whole poetry. Okay, that was the beginning of it. The perfecting, the understanding the rhythm of it, understanding the pitch of it, where it has to be pitched, and where it, and also where it has to be emphasized. It can actually change the meaning completely. So every person who is reciting the same poem, going to mean something else, just because of the emphasis, just because of the rhythm that the person who is reciting it. And so very early in my life, I started understanding the meaning of dialogue, meaning of the sentence which is given to you to say, to sing, or to recite. Okay. When I got admission in Delhi University, that was the time I was completely blown away by the amount of work that I had to do to really perfect the art of delivering dialogues. A teacher of dramatics came and she heard me saying those dialogues, and she shouted at me and said that, everything that you're saying is wrong, your pronunciation is wrong, your pitching is wrong, your rhythm is wrong. And I was thinking that I'm coming from a poetry background, so everything is going to be, all fine. But it was not. Then the work on my dialogues and delivering and understanding of those dialogues, everything started changing, taking a new shape. When I started doing professional theatre, that was the time I realized that there is dialogue and there is speech. That there are branches in the dialogue itself. I was looking for somebody who could teach me the speech or the dialogue delivery. I could not get one teacher, Sudhir. There was not even one teacher who could be called an expert on dialogues and speech. And I started looking for that particular person. So I went to Shri Vallabh Vyas, who was a very fine actor from National School of Drama. I sat with him. He made me understand that the reading of any Sanskrit literature loudly will help you in your diction, in your pronunciation, in dialogues. So I started doing that very blindly. Then I went to somebody else. Then I went to somebody else. So the one word that you say, dialogue, encompasses so many other facets, so many other things. Then now came the speech. There was this friend of mine who was very senior to me, though I like to call him a friend. We've been roommates also in Mumbai. And suddenly someone said that you stayed with Vineet and you could not work on your speech. You have not learned speech. You should go back to him. So I started going back to him and started understanding all the things that I have to keep in my mind when I'm given these lines to say, which is called speech. And that was the time, one line that he said, which always stayed with me, no matter how bad the script writer is, Manoj, there is always going to be connection of the second paragraph in the first paragraph itself. So try to understand how many topics, how many issues that the script writer is touching when you're saying the speech. And that way you will learn the speech very fast. But I had to really perfect it. I have to practice it. Now, all of this that I'm talking about has to do with this word called craft. Now, at this age, when you ask me dialogue, for me, the pause is the most difficult dialogue for any actor. The silence is to understand that silence and to give as much importance as possible in that given time is the best way to deliver a dialogue.
You know, the reason I even brought that up is because in some of your recent work, Joram comes to mind, Gali Gulaya comes to mind. These are films that are defined by a certain silence within the film as well.
Right.
What was among the earliest times you learned to? I mean, you learned about the nuance of how to approach dialogue. But what about when there is no dialogue?
Yes.
How important is that?
When there is no dialogue, there are too many dialogues. It's just that you are not voicing it, you are not saying it, but they are happening inside your brain, they are happening inside you. And that is where, actor's job is far more important. What are the dialogues which is happening in your brain when you are just looking into oblivion or just looking at the other character? What are the dialogues that the character wants to say but he's not saying it? That you have to coin. No scriptwriter will give it to you. And that is why I say when there is no dialogue, there are too many dialogues for an actor to write within himself.
Because even today, what is thought of as a great performance, if there's a certain clip that needs to be shared about on social media, it's usually a clip of a person reciting a long dialogue.
Right.
There is a tendency to think of a certain memorization of lines,
Right.
As the pinnacle of expression on some level, at least in mainstream cinema.
And that's because, in that clip, they were trying to, attract the audience's attention. So dialogues are the best way, when it is said. So many performances of mine, my speeches have become very popular. So people like to put those, small clips as reels to get the attention of the viewer. It's easy way to do it. But when you put a Bhosle's shot, which has no dialogue, I would love to see that. I would love to see what all was happening in Bhosle's mind, and as an actor, how far I succeeded in conveying those dialogues that were unseen, unsaid.
So on some level, are you constantly engaged in a conversation with the director, maybe knocking off certain lines, maybe asking certain questions off the script? Hey, does this need to be said? Does this need to be said as long?
Right. I mean, when you are young, when you are thriving, you give so much importance and weightage to the dialogues that even if one dialogue is cut away, you actually fight for it. You think that this is the opportunity for me to really get the attention of the viewers towards myself. But as you age, as you mature, as you live your life, and as you go through so many performances, you feel that many of the dialogues which are written there are unnecessary, or some of them are repeating themselves. So that is where I personally feel, Sudhir, that actors, there are two phases of actors, every actor. One is before 40 and one is after 40. Before 40 is when you are trying to mature, living life, trying to understand the flow of life, your own conflicts, the confusion. It's only after 40 you start realizing what all you've done and what all you could do and what all could happen. And not everything was unpredictable. It's just that I was too young to understand it.
Is that because there's a tendency for people to notice that time is not infinite as previously thought, maybe before the 40s?
I couldn't get it.
Is that because earlier on it feels like, yeah, there's a lot of life left to be lived?
Yeah.
But maybe when you hit 40, you're suddenly sort of looking back and starting to notice that there is a limitation.
There's limitation. Yeah. There's limitation, and also you suddenly start realizing that there is a futility in wasting too much energy on everything. There are many ways you can achieve those things without wasting that much of energy. You know that just by raising this finger, I can say too many things. I don't need to get up and raise my finger. Just by sitting here and looking, I can convey the same meaning. So all of these things, come to you only after a few years of not only performing, but also a few years of living life.
People who've extensively followed your work know your dedication to it, know how you allow for yourself to be consumed by the characters that you play in a way that few actors generally do. And I was thinking about it and I wondered what toll that would take on you, the person. You know, on Manoj Bajpayee, the husband, the son, the citizen, the individual. When you allow yourself to be consumed by certain characters, maybe you take them home, maybe you're suffering a bit too much.
Suffering is the right word. Actually, I can't say that, I have come out of all the characters I have played till now. No. It's just that, those characters and the work I have done on them, they maybe still there. I never try to, get them out of my system. It's just that I chose I just moved on to some other things, right? But the bruises of those characters, they must be there. I think that is why somewhere I feel that the actors who take that route to perform a character, they become quieter, they become far more moody, far more unpredictable to themselves. When I'm not talking to Sudhir, I would like to sit in a corner and observe people from there or be with myself rather than talking, right? So I think it's the clashing of too many characters, because brain is something has been storing everything. The person Monoj Bajpayee and his conflicts and his life and his confusions and his tragedies and his romance of life, everything. And there is another corner which has been storing all the characters that he's been playing, because he was, as you said it so rightly, I was playing it in a way that I completely thrown myself into the fire to achieve that. So I can't say that they have that approach didn't harm me here or didn't leave a bruise somewhere, didn't leave a mark somewhere. It has. I'm not aware of it. And I don't want to be aware of it.
I mean, obviously, it's not as as basic as a character speaking through you in your life.
Right.
But you're talking about the subconscious impact of
subconscious impact is always going to be there. But sometimes I feel that is my moodiness or my desperate, seeking for silence is also maybe because of that.
In hindsight, do you feel the sacrifice is well worth it? Because it is a sacrifice of your own self in some level, is it not?
It's all worth. I just love it. I mean, till now, you give me a character which can just make me wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I start looking forward to my day. I think it's the love for the craft. It's the passion for what I do, and the obsession with which I like to play all the roles. Maybe because of that. Other than that, I'm a father and I'm a husband. I can't say that I'm as devoted or as obsessed with bringing up my daughter. No, I can't say that. I somehow feel that I can't do it, because if I'm obsessed so much with one aspect of my life, I can't be equally devoted and obsessed with the other aspect of my life. It's just that I'm lucky that both of them are quite understanding enough that they know that this guy needs to get out and do the job, right? But that way I'm lucky. Otherwise, I'm better on the set than at home.
On some level, because of this dedication that you have shown towards cinema, the craft of acting, there have been lots of beneficiaries, viewers included. One of them, Devashish Makhija, I had a conversation with him ahead of speaking with you. And he was talking about how grateful he is that someone of your stature allowed himself to express himself through the films that he does. And I wanted to ask you this because, you are an attractive actor for a lot of filmmakers out there. Could you speak of the joy of collaborating with new voices? when the whole world of filmmakers is pretty much available for you?
It's both ways, Sudhir. uh, when I was doing Gangs of Wasseypur, that was the time I realized that this industry is not going to give me what I want, because they were not writing too many of those scripts. They were not giving opportunity to those many talents, the directors, who were just buzzing with ideas, or they were looking for opportunities. And that was the time I realized that I have to look for my own directors and my own script. Or you just wait for eternity for that one script to happen to you. And I was desperate because, as I said, I was above 40 and I had to give myself that chance. I had to use my time in industry instead of waiting at home and waiting for the script which is not going to come. And in that process, I started watching whatever short films which were featuring on YouTube. And YouTube was not that huge those days. And in that search, I found too many people. Okay, there is Dipesh Jain, whose Gali Guliyan, I consider it as my most difficult performance. Then there is Bhosle, then there is Joram, and then I mean, in that series, if you see the fable that I have done, which is traveling the festivals, garnering so much appreciation for Ram Reddy, or Kanu Behal's Dispatch, which is showing tonight. It was nothing but Manoj Bajpayee looking for his directors and his scripts.
What did you not get? What did you want when you set out on this journey, specifically speaking?
What I didn't want is doing the same kind of fitting myself, getting fitted into the same kind of a category or the same kind of pattern that every script has in the mainstream. Mainstream films that we do it because it's a genre I don't look down upon. But I, as an actor, I was not ready to just do one kind of films, one kind of genre, and be considered as one kind of actor in mainstream cinema. I wanted to explore my own abilities. And for that, there were Shish Makhija, or Kanu Behal, or Dipesh Jain, or Anurag Kashyap, or so many others. I needed them. So when Devashish says that he's so grateful, I'm also grateful to Devashish, or I'm also grateful to say Anurag, or say Kanu Behal, or Dipesh Jain, and so many others for really giving me those scripts, and find my own ability within myself. I knew that it is there. I knew that I had too much to say, too much to express, but there was nobody who could offer me that. Okay.
When you watch these films, it's evident the sort of internalization that you've done towards these characters, the nuance you bring to these performances. Does it then pain you on some level that what is considered to be mainstream cinema and the number of takers it gets is quite disproportionate in comparison with the takers that some of this cinema gets, right?
I mean, for independent cinema, it was always very difficult. But things started looking better in between. But now again, we hit the rock bottom. Just when we are talking, we are at the lowest right now. Because with the OTT platforms, we always thought that there is a very strong platform which is going to be mentoring those films. But now even the OTT platforms stopped welcoming that genre or those kind of that kind of creativity. So it's a difficult time. It's a time that we'll have to brave through, and things are going to look better. But as we were talking in the backstage, that we are living in a time of uncertainty, conflict, extreme conflict in the world, extreme confusion. You really don't know who are we against. Everybody is against everyone. We are living in that time. So it kind of reflects everywhere, and industry is not going to be untouched with that confusion and uncertainty. I know that one day independent cinema will start rising again, because they are very independent. Cinemas are the only genre or kind of cinema that is actually staying true to the definition of cinema as an art. Cinema for entertainment, mainstream, has always been very, very popular. Cinema for business, there is always a taker. The people who come into it just for the heck of the business, they have always been doing well, or they've always had the audience, queuing up for them. But what we need now is in this difficult time to mentor independent cinema, because this is the cinema which will determine the growth of Indian cinema. Without this, cinema will only be a business and nothing else.